Now we'll look at Section 4.8 for complaints. By definition, a complaint is an expression of dissatisfaction by any person or organization to a laboratory relating to the activities or results of that laboratory where a response is expected. What should be added to this is that the response or resolution is explicitly or implicitly expected. A complaint also includes inquiries into the accuracy or timeliness of data. For instance, if you could translate the inquiry into a complaint format, it should likely be considered a complaint. The statement, "Hey, have you gotten to my samples yet?" could be translated to, "My data is later than expected and I need you to tell me why." Now that we've observed as instructors, consultants, and assessors is that each laboratory has certain thresholds by which they will call something a complaint. The standard is very quiet on this. If you're part of a system of laboratories or have a parent laboratory, it's recommended that you seek their guidance on this because, as said before, people have different thresholds and one person's interpretation of a complaint could be someone else's nagging. The other thing to consider are changes in external factors that influence your laboratory. These external factors could lead to an increase in complaints and may also impact your threshold to respond to the customer. For example, if a tsunami or an earthquake were to hit this area and the resulting water supply was impacted, I would expect you would get hundreds of complaints, even though this was out of your control. This leads us to the next series of slides that focus on what the standard requires of you as far as managing complaints are concerned. You must have a complaint policy and a procedure. Note, this does not necessarily apply to citizen complaints about water quality, but specifically to laboratory issues themselves. When a complaint is received, you must follow your policy and procedure for response and keep records. Examples of records include copies of emails, corrective actions if applicable, and perhaps a complaint form that you've created. In some cases, the complaint might be trivial, in which you can quickly respond and resolve the issue. But what happens if during your investigation you discover there are some underlying causes and that this complaint is systematic or may have had this several times? While you might quickly resolve the complaint with the customer, you might have to consider the route of non-conforming work, Section 4.9, due to a systematic breakdown or systematic errors in your processes and initiate corrective action, Section 4.11. We'll discuss this corrective action process in another section. On the screen, you see a compliant example in regards to complaints. It's fairly short procedure pulled from a quality manual of a small commercial lab to handle complaints. In this example, very short as it is a non-complying example. The procedures do not address how complaints are documented or even that they must be documented and what actions are taken by management. Complaints do have to be documented using the procedure you have set up in-house, and this is by far the most common deficiency.